Quick note, today's episode is a preview of a workshop that I'm hosting called AI Together. It's for people leaders who want to do more than just automate and delegate with their AI. You can learn more at ai.together.greatmondays.com. It's coming up on September 9th. So just a couple weeks away. Please sign up, and I hope to see you there. Uber's CEO can't find the link between what his company spends on AI and anything that a writer would actually notice. In fact, Uber burned through its entire 2026 AI budget in 4 months. Andrew McDonald, the COO of Uber, said that link is not there yet when thinking or talking about ROI and AI. And he's not alone. There's quite a few big brands that are rolling back it's their initial AI experiments. Starbucks pulled its AI inventory agent after 9 months because it hallucinated and slowed down baristas. Ford went big on automated quality inspection and then hired back 350 veteran engineers to clean up what the machines missed. Now, before I tell you what I think is going on, let me guess how you've been using AI at work. One, you built an automation or agent to handle a task you already had. Or two, you used a tool to do something you used to have to ask someone else to do. How'd I know? Well, nearly every manager and leader I've talked to this year said pretty much the same thing of their team. No judgment. I mean, that's how I use it too. And in fact, it's exactly what we do, not just with AI, but every time that we get a paradigm changing tool. I'm Josh Levine, author, educator, and advocate for a better work future. I help leaders create big change that sticks. And I've spent the last 20 years paying attention to how work actually works, technology, culture, incentives, and the story we tell ourselves about capitalism doing what it's supposed to be doing. This is the audio version of my Substack, which you should go and subscribe to, where I work out in real time how AI is changing how we look for and do work, and maybe eventually what to do about it. This is the Job Shit Show. In this episode, you're using AI to do the wrong things faster. Now, the best example of this pattern that us humans have when new technology comes along is a pretty common one, but I'll tell you the story again if you've heard it. It's the transition from steam power to the electric motor. When factories first brought electric motors in, the owners would pull out the big steam engine and then bolt the electric motor exactly in the same to the same central drive shaft. The same belts, the same shafts, the same floor plan, and it barely helped, right? There was a little bit of productivity gains. But the payoff, when they really saw the big gains, arrived about 40 years later when somebody thought to put a small motor on each machine instead of a large motor in the middle. Suddenly, factory owners could rearrange around the flow of work instead of around the drive shaft. The motor made it possible to create a better floor plan. This is exactly the metaphor for what we're doing right now with AI. We are at the swap the motor stage, which means the thing standing between you and the big benefits you've been promised is not the next better LLM. Stuck in the J rut. I wrote a few months back about the missing economic bump from the AI boom. The numbers haven't really improved much. Quick survey of the data. In February 2026, the National Bureau of Employer Relations worked on a paper, and they surveyed 6,000 senior executives in the US, UK, Germany, and Australia. 69% said their company is actively using AI. 9 in 10 said it had no effect on employment or productivity. And those same executives expect about a 1.5% productivity gain over the next 3 years, which is either optimism or a rounding error. Take your pick. McKinsey's State of AI put it in flatter language. Enterprise-wide financial impact remains limited. So here's the part that should make you feel better and then worse. Every general purpose technology looks like a bust at first. In 2021, three economists published a paper called The Productivity J-Curve, and I've written about this. Their argument is not that these technologies fail. It's that the payoff stays invisible for years because the real investment goes into things the statistics can't see: new processes, new skills, new org charts. Companies spend enormous amounts of money rebuilding how work happens, and none of it counts as output until all of it does at once. Quote, you can see the computer age everywhere except in the productivity statistics. It's a pretty good joke for an economist, Robert Solow, who cracked that in 1987 when evaluating the new computer revolution. So that's the feel better part. We're early. This is normal. We can expect it. Here's the problem. You can't just wait out the J curve. I mean, you can, but you'll only be playing catch up, right? The story that these authors are telling and that this construct of the J curve essentially implies is simply wait, someone will figure it out. But the thing is that someone isn't you. And what I think we need to do is we need to actually do the redesign now. We need to go beyond the automation and delegation. It's not time that fixed the factories. It was a redesign. And a redesign takes somebody with enough standing to say it out loud and to say that the current shape of the work isn't working. So that's my hypothesis. That's what I think is going on. It has nothing to do with the capability of the models or if you're waiting for, the next better version of Opus or whatever, or the free version of whatever open weight model. We're in the bottom of the J curve, and our limitation is not the technology. Our limitation is how we use this work, how we use AI, and for what. Climbing out of the bottom of the J curve will take the kind of thinking most large companies are built to prevent. And that's the problem. And that is why most organizations have trouble with innovation. So right now I'm going to go through the 3 modes of AI use, right? So it's kind of, I'm calling them AI thinking. So mode 1 thinking, mode 2 thinking, and mode 3 thinking. And we're going to go through these one at a time. And because I feel like it's important to articulate the use of AI as a way to understand what could be done better. Okay, so mode 1 thinking. This is AI as accelerator. We think we know what AI can do, but in practice, especially inside big companies, we only point it at the problems we already had. How can this new thing help me do the stuff that I was already doing? So this is mode 1. This is like automating email, automating Slack replies, generating the weekly report, taking meeting notes, and there's nothing wrong with it. I do it constantly. It's a natural thing, and you should be doing it. But task speed has a ceiling, and everyone's going to hit it. Your competitor is buying the same tool, is going to figure out the same shortcut, and we're just going to get that same 20 minutes back, but it'll only be incremental. Mode 1 is table stakes. Mode 2 thinking. This is AI as augmenter. So there are people, and you may be one of them, or you may know someone in your business or maybe out on the web that you read, who are figuring out that AI can help let them do things they used to have to ask someone else to do, right? So now with ChatGPT, you can write code. Or with Lovable, you can build your own website pretty quickly and it looks pretty good. In fact, I heard about a project manager who mocked up the first version of a prototype UI in Claude Design and then walked it into the design review herself. That's great. And if you're asking, how do I do the thing I used to need someone else for, that's mode 2. And it feels like a superpower, and it really is. It's like you own it. But building a good looking deck without waiting 3 days on marketing, while it's a genuine thrill, you have to look at what actually changed. It wasn't the deck. The deck still got created. It's the work that moved across the org chart. But the work itself didn't change that much. Again, maybe you saved a little bit of time by removing the back and forth, but it's not that big. It's not going to be a competitive advantage. Which brings me to mode 3. AI as transformer. Mode 1 changes how fast the work gets done. Mode 2 changes who does it. And mode 3 changes what work is worth doing at all. A few weeks ago, I interviewed Boris Berenberg, the CEO of Zero AI, and he gave me a pretty good explanation of why so few companies get to mode 3. He framed it as a capital allocation problem. It's a little bit of a long quote, but it's worth it, so bear with me. Here's what Boris said. Give a public company CEO $1 billion, and they can decide to invest it in marketing, research, development, sales, or they can dividend it out. They can give it back to their shareholders. If they give it back to the shareholders, they're telling the market very clearly, I do not believe I can outperform the market with this marginal $1 billion. Now, give that same CEO $1 billion of AI productivity, and they say, I'm going to cut $1 billion worth of people. What they're saying is, I do not believe that I can apply this tool in a way that generates returns in excess of the market. Think about that. Every layoff announced as an AI win is a company telling you it ran out of ideas. What does it look like when a company reinvests AI to do something entirely new? In 2021, IKEA launched a customer service bot named Billy after the bookcase. Billy now handles 74% of incoming customer questions, store hours, pet policies, where's my couch? The mode 1 move was easy and obvious. Cut the call center, book the savings, put the number in the earnings deck. But IKEA, Boris reminded me, asked a different question. What Boris told me this story, he said, we're actually going to take these people who are good at talking to customers, and we know that because that's their core skill set, and think about where else in the business we talk to our customers. Support is usually seen as a cost center. Where do we have a profit center where we talk to customers? The answer, they decided, was interior design. IKEA took 8,500 call center workers and spent 2 years retraining them as remote design consultants. 5 or 6 weeks of coursework each, digital room planning tools, and practice asking the kinds of questions that chatbots would not think to answer. What isn't working in this room? Those 24 remote sales centers across 31 countries did 1.25 billion euros in sales last fiscal year and are growing 15 to 20% a year. Customer satisfaction went from 60%, already impressive number, to 89%. So here, a cost center became a sales channel. That revenue line did not exist at anything like this scale before the bot. And the bot did not create it. The bot freed up those people who already knew the products cold. And somebody at IKEA had the nerve to point them at a business that hadn't been built yet. The other example, maybe the pure or like the extreme version where it's sort of a little more purely kind of AI and data, is from science. And one of my favorite stories is about DeepMind's AlphaFold project. So humans, scientists, spent decades in labs working out the shape of roughly 190,000 proteins. And it's interesting, right? They can fold in all sorts of ways. And so it's really was the human kind of research and doing the experiments, trial and error. But in July of 2022, DeepMind's AlphaFold released predicted structures for 200 million proteins. So all of science up until 2022 had predicted 100 and almost 200,000 proteins. But then the AI project predicted 200 million, right? Nobody was ever going to fund this hand-done version of that product. AI made it possible, right? The question was no longer which proteins can we predict. It became, what do we do now that we have so many? And there's your test, right? Mode 1 and mode 2 makes an existing output cheaper. But mode 3 makes a previously impossible output possible. or even just affordable. So that question for your team isn't how do we use AI to do what we're already doing faster? It's what would we go after if the expensive part were free? What kind of information do we have that we can now do something with? Look, none of this is easy. And clearly you'll be working against the natural physics of a large business where, being incremental is safe and redesign is not. But it is going to be the companies who can engage in mode 3 thinking that are going to be the winners. Everybody gets to mode 1 and probably mode 2 as well, right? These are table stakes. And even if you do, neither one's a moat, right? Your competitors are buying the same tools from the same vendors. And the only thing that separates you is whether somebody in your building is allowed to redraw the floor plan. If you're interested in learning more about mode 3 thinking and actually working with me to identify what projects you might be able to engage with, please go to aitogether.com. That is my new workshop that's coming September 9th, and I would love to see you there. The Job Shit Show is brought to you by me and my company, Great Mondays, a change consultancy helping leaders of private companies elevate how their teams operate in an AI-driven work world. I'll see you next week for more of the Job Shit Show.